You are now locked in to the Sitting Down with the Sisters podcast.
Hi guys.
Welcome back to another episode. We are your hosts. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Tammy.
I'm Ayo.
And we are the Sitting Down with the Sisters.
Wow.
Sorry.
It's crack right now.
Cocaine.
Prevailing in our systems.
So, hi guys. We know you've missed us. This is our second episode, I believe, or season 3. I think it's our second episode. It depends on how we edit. But it should be our first second. Do you know? So basically, we know you've missed our faces and we missed yours too. And we're back again. You know, we're excited, we're fulfilled, we're ready to give you the gist, the gossip, everything we have. Okay. So today's topic is what? Take it away.
I'm going to take it away. Do you have anything you want to say?
PSA? No, why you got to remind her?
Just in case.
Let me say what I need to say. Thank you.
Is it crack? Is it crack?
No. Cocaine. Thank you so much to all those who are locked in, tuned in. Obviously, you've heard our introduction for the second time round now. And honestly, thank you to those who've made it this far. Because I know some people, they're supporting us, but they still haven't watched any of our episodes.
Right.
Tossing.
No, don't do that to her. She's doing her masters right now.
Oh, baby girl, congratulations.
Honestly, a real smart babe.
In fact, she has to do this episode because she's training to be a midwife.
Period. So yeah, thank you to everyone who's actually supporting us, commenting, liking, subscribing, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole lot, following us on our socials.
We see it all, by the way.
Honestly, shout out to those. Shout out to our friends who see us promoting but still are not supporting. God bless you anyway.
She decided to go there.
One thing we missed in last week's episode, actually, we didn't shout out Soapbox. I don't know how we didn't do that.
Oh yeah.
Soapbox.
Shout out Soapbox, Real Soulful,
Sober,
Joe Benga.
Sober.
Shout out to our babies. Okay.
The plug.
Oh,
right.
Soapbox on Instagram, 2 X's. Real Soulful, real _soulful.
Period.
On
by
Instagram.
Joe Wright.
Joe Wright.
That's it.
Okay. So
What an intro.
It's actually scatty at this point. Let's just move on. Right, yeah. So today we're just doing a small. It's like a question, a dilemma, and it will branch into a small talk. But it's just a little short bite-sized episode for you today. Basically, the question was: say you have 2 kids with one person because you were married to them or like in a long-term relationship, but you end up splitting up because stuff didn't work out, but you want one more child. Is it okay for you to go back to that man so that all your kids have the same father? Were you guys even listening?
Yeah,
we were
stealing her
listening.
bag because guys.
Anyways,
I love
before we were really interrupted.
Yes. What do you guys think?
I think this one is it's not difficult for me, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that I don't understand when women do make those choices to go back and have another child so that their children can have the same father. They go back to their baby daddy. But as
baby daddy.
But for me personally, putting myself in those shoes, if we're broken up, I'm the type of person that when things are over, it's done. Like there's no going back for nothing. So I can't imagine myself going back there for the sake of another child, because I think it can be, I don't want to say toxic, because I feel like people love to throw that word around like it's nothing, like it's loose change, but I don't know, it's just it's a sticky one. I don't know. What do you think, Tammy?
Very sticky.
What do you think?
I think personally, do you know what? We're talking in the context of marriage, right? So I'm married. We God forbid get a divorce and we're separated. I can't do it. Right. Just not for the sake of a child. I can't do it. Like if I'm, and just let's put it in context. Like if I'm by myself, like what, I'm not married to anybody else. Yeah, I don't think I want children anymore. Like I feel if I've moved on, that my kid, like, by God's grace, I would have had the amount of children I want. I want 3 kids.
But like say you haven't, that's the scenario.
Okay, say if you've only had like 2, or say it's just 1.
Yeah, say you've had 1 or 2.
do you know what? I'll move forward with my life. I'll find another partner, and by God's grace, have children with him. Like,
and if that doesn't happen,
then that was what Jesus, God wanted me to do. Like, what? Like, I don't understand. What's this? Like, if me and my husband were divorced, there's a reason for that. Right. So why am I going back for the sake of having children? Yeah. Like, it has to be a mad reason for me to get a divorce in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're separated. We're not together anymore. We probably co-parent. You know, the kids get to see their dad whenever they want. But I can't imagine myself co-parenting and being all buddy where like, oh, if we're gonna get back together, we're gonna get back together. Right. I'm not going back to you for the sake of a child and then leaving again to just co-parent. You know,
that's a good point.
I'm sticking to that one. Like, I'm not the type of person to say, oh, I don't want. Ideally, I would want my children to have the same dad. But let's say, so be it, I do get a divorce and I find a new partner, I'm so willing. I would want to give my new partner a child. I want us to share that as well. Do you know what I mean? So my answer is there's a 95% chance I'm not going back.
That's a good number. So, what about you? What do you think, sis?
Do you know what it is? Yeah, I'm very particular about family. Like, I'm very big on family and the importance of the dad being in there and the mum being there and everybody together and stuff. And like, for me, I would be extremely tempted to go back.
Just for the kid,
to have. I know it sounds mad.
I understand.
It almost sounds like you're just using the guy to have a baby. But
I mean, if you've had a conversation with him,
and you're both on the same page.
Because technically, like for me, I'd want all my children to have the same dad, just so that when we are co-parenting, you're over there or whatever, like all of you are going together. I'm not taking one here, one there, one there, one. Do you know what I'm saying? So I understand it though, in the context of like practicality, it makes more sense not to, but then I can also see why. Like, I would.
I feel like it's frowned upon though, like if a woman
has more than one baby,
of course, or like if a guy has more than one baby. But obviously I'm not talking about 5, 6, that one.
Right.
I'm talking, for example, let's use the example of, let's say, for example, Sierra, obviously she was with Future. She had a child by him. Things didn't work out. And she even said like she was kind of scared.
She's a very good example, actually.
She didn't think that she was going to meet someone like who would accept that the fact that it's not just her now, it's her and her son. And furthermore, like more children. And obviously she's now married to Russell Wilson and they have two beautiful children. And obviously I get her concerns and I get where she's coming from, but I just don't like and it's always on women, because when it's the man who has multiple baby mums, it's almost like, not that it's seen as attractive or like,
it's just more accepted in society.
Like I feel like men are applauded for that, whereas with women, if they have two, for example, Sierra, even like the whole process that she went through when she had to introduce her son that she had with Future to Russell, she got so much backlash.
I remember that time. And basically, they were getting onto her saying how you're trying to replace Future, and you know, it's just unnecessary like comments and opinions from broke people. And it's just
like, I really do feel like there's a double standard when it comes to this thing, because it just for me it doesn't make sense.
My thing is now, obviously I'm so glad you use Sierra because I think she's a perfect example of this. Do you then think like, did it make say she obviously, let's say she's had one kid, she wanted another one, why would she go back to Future?
That's a great point.
Why?
That's actually really
do you know who Future is? Do you know who Future is? Do we know who Future is?
How many relationships has he been in?
If I was Sierra, I'm not looking back at that.
Sorry,
I was gonna that guy. I ain't looking back at Future.
That's so interesting.
So what? You've now found love with another man. Would you not want to continue sharing that love with him? Especially because he's then accepted my child as well as his.
That's it.
That's beautiful.
And I think us using the example of like, going back to have a child with our ex-partner, we're being very generous and gracious and believing that our ex-partners great people, blah blah blah.
That's it. But what if they're not great?
If they're not great,
that's
people,
why I asked. Like, for us to get a divorce in the first place, something is wrong.
Or break up.
Why are we still not together for us to have more children?
So then why are we having more kids if that's the case? I'm so sorry. Once, even in a relationship, like just come on boyfriend, girlfriend, or talking stage or whatever we want to call it. Even in that, once I stop talking to someone, it's not as if, I'm not even trying to say it's like you're not my enemy. It's not like I don't want to have anything to do with you. More time I don't. But then to talk of going back and having kids,
talk to me,
to have kids, you know the process, right? How very intimate it is.
It's a very intimate.
So let's say you're not you're not touching me. I'm not walking into your bedroom.
So is it a sacrifice? What if you didn't do it the natural way and you got him to just donate?
This is what I mean. Extra efforts. Now it's just becoming a
More
chore.
money. That is not free, by the way. What you just said.
That's becoming a chore.
Take out money out my pockets. Are you kidding me?
But you know what? If it's something you want,
joking.
If it's something you want, because you want another kid, so that means at the time you're willing to sacrifice.
Yeah, you would be.
That's why I wouldn't want another kid with a man that I'm not with anymore, because I'm not with you.
Earlier on, when you said it's frowned upon a lot, that when people have multiple fathers and mothers of their children, and I said, of course. I hope nobody took that offensively, by the way, because I thought to myself,
oh, did you? I didn't
know what way
that is frowned upon. But when I said of course, because
it is frowned upon, not because you're saying it should be frowned upon.
And even that, ideally, like people would ideally want to have their children with one person,
right?
So just to clarify,
yeah.
And I think even to clarify, me saying that, I'm not saying that you should now go out and have 5 baby dads. If that's your prerogative,
by all means.
But obviously, I don't feel like anyone goes into the situation of
wanting
a family, and aspire for that.
Yeah, but like for me, another reason why I said of course is because I really believe in the nuclear family. Like I do. I believe in the dad and mum being together and having the kids. And I think it's a very important structure that is slowly fizzling out as the generations go by. Because even though I'm not going to say our parents' generation and previous, like they weren't perfect, and like a lot of them stayed in marriages that were dysfunctional, no lie, but there was still something about the mum and dad being in the house and the children. And of course, there's single parents that have done beautiful jobs bringing up kids on their own, and not to discredit them. And to be fair, I'm not even going to lie, sometimes it's better to have one healthy parent
than two dysfunctional
parents. So as because I think what's actually very important as well that is fading out as the generations go by is the village mentality of bringing up a kid. Like people taking it as their responsibility to look out for your kids, like the way they do in Nigeria or like other countries where that child, everybody's looking out for them and invested in their life. I think that's
because it's more of a collective.
It's going away, and I think that's why I would be more willing to have my kids with one
person. Do you know what it is?
That makes sense.
You know your point when you said, that in today's age, like the whole family aspect is sort of fading out. I think it depends on how you look at it, because some people could disagree with that in a sense where back in like our parents' generation and generation before, monogamy was a thing, but it was like...
But they were still stepping out.
100%. Polygamy was so
sure.
huge.
My granddad had 17 wives.
That's what I mean. Like my grandma had, like from both sides, for both my mum and my dad's
Serious.
side. My granddad had more than 2 wives. My granddad from my dad's side had 2 wives. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like in that aspect, you can see it differently. Like polygamy was huge back then. Like,
because culturally it was... But then,
the older I got as well in family, I'm starting to realise this uncle had kids outside his marriage.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Do you know what I mean? So it definitely happened back then, and I feel like I said, it depends on how you look at it, because now it's a thing where the whole monogamy is definitely personally, I think it might be more spoken about than it was before, and taken more seriously now than it did. Do you know what I mean? It's being taken seriously.
People are
they want that whole
taking
family
their skeletons out of the closet now. Because back in the day, there's men having
it was
kids,
more hidden,
and nobody knows that he has kids abroad.
Now
he has kids here, has kids
I'm
abroad.
so glad you pointed that out, because should I say this? There's
if you're gonna want it to be edited, I beg, don't say.
No, I'm not. Okay. Because I feel like, especially now, you saying like skeletons are coming out the closet.
Yeah, they are.
It's like we know so many like uncles or whoever that they're continuously going back home, and you think they're going home to build a house.
Bye.
When really and truly
they have kids and a whole wife
because they have another family.
It's very it's a lot,
and it's sad.
And that's if you look back, that's a lot of the time it's prominent within our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation,
for sure. Like that can't run today in our generation.
That's the thing. It happened in our generation,
it's a bit different,
but I feel like it's a little bit different. The whole like family culture is still there. Do you know what I mean? If that isn't there, it's just more of like a single parent thing. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it being polygamy and marrying more than one. Even though, let's not forget, in Islam, it's still the tradition. Like it is what it is. They are allowed to do that, but
the man is not the
man. Right? Do you know what I mean? So we need to consider like tradition.
There's
in that
so many
aspect
factors.
as well.
I think the difference in our generation is that people would just not they're just not getting married. I think that's what the difference is. It's not the having kids with just one person It's the fact that people aren't getting married.
Mm.
Does that scare you a little bit?
100. I think it just shows how more and more the world is falling to pieces.
Yeah.
Because
Ooh,
marriage.
pieces.
No, facts. Because obviously I'm talking from a Christian worldview.
Yeah.
So I can only speak for that. But like, marriage was instituted by God, and obviously the running away from marriage is a running away from God. Because in a lot of different ways, the same way with people running away from their identity, running away from so many things, you're running away from the essence of what was
God intended.
But then at the same time, sorry, I like playing the middle field here, but at the same time,
I like how you didn't use devil's advocate. You've learned.
Oh, do you know why? When you posted that video, I had to look at it and be like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Because we don't advocate for the devil.
No way, I'm not a devil's advocate. God forbid it's not happening again. So to play the middle ground in the situation, like, what were we just talking about? Like,
you were saying how people are running away from it. So you want to
exactly. So the middle, like, from a different perspective, do you not feel like, you know how the Bible does say like some people are called to
singleness?
To singleness.
That doesn't mean have a child outside of marriage, though.
No, not child outside of marriage. And what your exact words were like, people are just not getting married anymore. Did you mean it in the context of rather than getting married, they're just having kids? Or did you mean it in just in general?
Wrong, not wrong, but wrong if you're looking from a Christian worldview, a way that it will not. Yeah, it's not the way that God intended it.
Right.
Okay. In that aspect,
and I think what you're saying is both.
Okay.
I think in a sense where there's people who just genuinely don't want to get married, and then there's people.
That's what I was looking at.
Doing
because I'm sorry,
the route of they just want their family without the whole.
Because from that. Statement, I would honestly rather stay single than marry wrong.
Of course, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? So there's also that, so we've got to consider.
But I think that people nowadays have made marriage so detestable in their own eyes, but they would happily stay with the same person for the rest of their life, but they just won't get married. Where to me, what's the point?
But then, do you know what? I'll be honest, I'm 50-50 because I'm 50-50 because at the end of the day, marriage is a beautiful thing. Like, if you're going to be together, you might as well get married. But like you said, we're talking about it in a Christian point of view, but from a different point, from a more what's the
universal?
From a different point of view.
From a different point of view, it's just like marriage comes with a lot of hassle at the same time because of the paperwork.
I don't agree with that.
I do. It does, because at the end of the day, let's say a divorce was to happen, it's not just, go your separate ways.
That's why I think the issue with marriage in our generation is everybody's thinking about divorce.
That's the thing. No.
That's not what you're meant to be.
You're not. I'm sorry. I absolutely agree with you, because I'm not going to go on my wedding day thinking divorce. But at the same time, you can't now completely eradicate it like it's not a thing that happens. We're talking about divorce right now. We're not even married yet.
I think it's not even there when people do think about divorce, it's not because
we're going to get divorced.
Like, I think a lot of people do that out of safeguarding.
I think safeguarding, yes, but I think the difference in our generation is people are very more self-centered than they were before.
Can I be honest? I don't want to
everything is about you.
And I don't want to say I agree, because that shouldn't be the case, because once you come into a marriage, you're now one, as together in the eyes of the Lord. It's a partnership anymore. Exactly. But at the same time, I feel like the reason why maybe we've become more selfish and thinking about ourselves more is based on the fact that someone, like, not to say the things that we've heard, just not experiences either, but some people do mad things in this world. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the things that we've seen in marriages, not to then go, because at the end of the day, there are bad things happening all over the world. You can't just talk about marriage. Do you know what I mean?
You get married or you don't get married,
there's bad things everywhere.
People wear makeup and they die, but you're still wearing makeup.
Do you know what I mean? Like plane crash every day, but we get on the plane and go on holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? These things.
I think it all comes down to your perspective. Like, it all comes down to your mindset and your perspective. Everything you think about it, because even when you said like what people have made marriage to be, when you look at what marriage is supposed to be,
people say it's hassle, but
it's fine. Not what you've. I know it's hard
because you're basing it on,
especially if what you've seen. Like, I'm thinking of it, for example, what you're saying from the perspective of someone, say, who's grown up in a household, they've seen their parents married and it was toxic, unhealthy, and then they've now grown up and then they're not sure, okay, is that something I want to step into? It should, that negative experience, and I know it's easier said than done. It's so much easier said than done, but that one bad experience or that one bad example doesn't now negate or take away from the fact that the beauty is still there.
It's still there regardless. And it takes me to, literally, I'm so glad you brought that up. I was having I was listening to a Clubhouse room like a few months back, and they were talking about marriage as well, and it sort of ties in. I'm trying not to derail from the conversation that we're having, but it ties in as well. So someone asked the question of, do you feel like people that were raised in single parents household, they look forward to the idea of marriage more than people raised in
that's a very good
two-parent household?
Great question.
And the reason they asked that, and the back sort of context behind it, is because their answers was because the reason they asked because they believe, the explanation basically was that obviously when you're brought up in a single parent household, you feel like you might lack certain things that isn't given to you. So when you're getting older, when you're building your future, you want it more than the average person that has it. Like, I'm brought up in, like, my mum and my dad are still together, brought up
Hallelujah.
in, and they're basically saying someone like me, I might thrive to want to, have a marriage of my own one day, but not as much as the other person that was brought up in a single parent household. What do you guys think of that? And the reason why I feel like it ties to this subject is because the reason why is because, like, someone that is brought up in a single parent household, are they then likely to go back to their husbands if they get a divorce, or their wives, to have those children because of that idea, to keep that family together that they never got to have? Do you know what I mean?
Come through. Come and see the growth.
Hallelujah.
Rent was due.
I just clocked what you said.
Oh my days.
Do you know what it is? That is a very good thing. Good question, because I can see why they would want marriage than a child that was brought up in a two-parent household, because exactly what you said. If you lacked that father figure or you lacked that mother figure, you want to at least try and see if you can give that to your kids.
Right.
Versus somebody that had a two-parent household that was dysfunctional and was like, I could have probably done this without my dad.
Right.
I could have probably grown. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where
they don't say the importance of it as much as someone that
or even if it wasn't dysfunctional, even if, say, if for example, we use our example or whatever, our parents still together, married, everything, relationship great, and then someone who was in a single parent household and then the mum is happy, it's healthy, it would still make sense as to why they would not necessarily want it more, because that's not to say that we wouldn't want a healthy family and build and ensure that our children have parents that are present and whatnot. It would make sense as to why they someone who comes from a single why they would
that's
want
what I mean.
it
when
more.
you lack
It makes
when you lack
sense.
certain things, you're more likely there's one argument that could say you're likely to live without it because you never really experienced it, so it doesn't matter. But on the flip side, it's like, I never really experienced it, now I want to make that difference. I want to make that change.
And where
do you think that desire to want it? Because I think there wouldn't be a desire to want it if there wasn't proven positives to having it.
No, and not necessarily proven positive. There's that, but also because let's not all single parents household are dysfunctional.
Of course, no.
So let's just take one example of a dysfunctional single parent household. Let's say a child was raised in a dysfunctional single parent household and they believe a lot of the problems that's happening in their household would be fixed if the other parent was involved. So obviously if they're going through that trauma, going through those experiences, they will just genuinely, because of the negative experiences that they've experienced, they're gonna take it upon themselves and say, you know what, when I get older, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen for myself.
I don't want this cycle to repeat.
And I feel like my mom is a good example of that, because she I would say I'm gonna say she did grow up in a dysfunctional household, in a polygamy background. Like her dad had several wives. Her mum wasn't really around. She lived with her dad, and she's always, literally till this day, she tells me and my brother, like, I really, really, growing up, because of what I went through, I didn't have the best experience growing up as a child. I didn't have both parents. I needed them, but they weren't there. When I'm older now, I'm going to make sure that, I'm with my husband so my parents can have a great life. And I always have to correct her. I get where she's coming from and I appreciate it, but I always have to correct her. Mum, if there's ever a day you're not happy in your marriage, you cannot continue staying there for that reason. I get it.
For the kids.
Personally, I wouldn't want my mum to say that just for that reason.
Yeah, I get that.
If she's not happy, she's got to do what she's got to do.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like, just because you're not together anymore doesn't make it dysfunctional. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Right,
like, it's still going to work.
I don't think there's anything else left for me to say.
That's
to me,
a
you said
very
it
good
all.
way
You know
to
what
say.
I'm saying?
I don't necessarily think I'm completely in agreement with that. But I hear it so loud.
Like my mum's happiness comes first
Because
over the fact that she
your
wants
happiness does come first.
me and my brother and my dad. Like, I get it. We've had that. Like, you know, we've done the family thing. If my dad, or let's just
That's
vice
the bit I disagree
versa.
with. The only bit I didn't is the end part where you said, if you guys are not together, that doesn't make it dysfunctional.
It doesn't.
I'm not saying that it does make it dysfunctional automatically, but just because of how a family is made, when something is dysfunctional, it's acting out of its normal function.
Right.
So technically, a family without both parents is dysfunctional. If you wanted to make it
but in context,
it's not.
And in life experience, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
But down to its definition,
if you take it down to its if something's operating outside of what it was intended to operate,
outside of its norm,
dysfunctional.
Yeah, of course. Like if we're talking, like obviously you're talking based on definition, but I'm speaking based on context, like life experience.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not dysfunctional. Like there are loads and loads of single households that have been amazing, that they're doing great. It's not dysfunctional and things are happening. Do you know what I mean? So like I think my mum still has that mindset of, oh, if I, you know, say one day I'm not happy anymore, it's like your dad's not happy, we're gonna try and do this for you guys, which I appreciate, because I'm not gonna lie, when I do grow up, I'm going to try that as well. If I have an issue with my husband and I feel like I don't want to be in this marriage, I'm not gonna up and leave because we have kids together. I'm going to try and make it work. I'll do everything I can, but I'm not going to tell you I will sit there when I feel like I've tried it all and nothing has worked. I can't.
That's a perfect
you can't sit there. Like, how can you sit in a marriage based on the fact that of your children when you've done everything you could?
And you know what's so crazy as well? Children notice it.
Children
can see.
They pick up
There's
everything.
so many stories I've heard, and the perfect example is Adrian from The Real. She speaks about her parents' marriage, her upbringing, and how she says she could tell that, you know, her parents weren't happy and they just
100%
kept the peace just for the sake of it.
That can make more damage than the original
100%.
damage that it was meant to make.
Exactly.
Because they've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And just to round up, I think the only thing, there's three or four different outcomes. One would be for what her parents decided to do, separate and find love and healthy relationship elsewhere.
Thrive,
show your children that you can work things out, because imagine the parents decided to work things out. It would also be a good testimony to the kids to show that you
absolutely.
can. Or the horrible usually decision is sometimes not working on it, and you just end up staying in there, and the children see the dysfunction and they go on
and the children suffer,
and then it's like
exactly,
it's like a ripple effect then carrying on in the family. It's just not
I like that summary.
That was a really good episode.
I like that.
It was a very good episode.
Comment down below you guys' thoughts.
We'd love to know.
Perspectives. Obviously we're open to discussion. If you go back to our past episodes, you see that we do engage and we do respond. Obviously keep it cute, keep it classy,
keep it respectful, baby.
Okay,
because I can get real disrespectful.
I'm done. But yeah, guys,
thank you guys for watching.
Subscribe, follow our page, everything. We love you guys.
Bye. Peace and love.